There was a video game I played a little over 20 years ago that I thought was one of the coolest, craziest, gnarliest I'd ever experienced. It was about a guy locked in jail. He was accused of doing something terrible to his family, the type of thing I'm not allowed to verbalize this early in a YouTube video. But his wife and kids are not around anymore, if you catch my drift. He was sentenced to death, but before his time behind bars could even begin, the very prison he's trapped inside splits itself open. Horrifying, grotesque creatures pour from the structure's gaping wounds with one goal in mind: to butcher as many people as they possibly can. Can this guy survive this nightmare? Did he really commit the crime that he's accused of? Who is this guy? What the hell is this thing? Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Suffering. How many of you have played The Suffering? Anybody? This is a game that I have meant to return to for about 20 years now. I bought it when it came out, I played it, but I never finished it. And I have meant to come back to this one forever. This is Scream Sequence, this is the Halloween season, and this is really just the perfect time of year for me to cook up an excuse to return to The Suffering. So here we are. I'll tell you all about Torque, Dr. Killjoy, Horace Gage, Hermes the Executioner, and much, much more. By the time this video is over, you're going to join me in wondering, why the hell does nobody talk about The Suffering? Welcome to Scream Sequence, razor-sharp reviews of your favorite creepy classics. Every video here on 616 Entertainment is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoyed the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos and podcasts, and more. Pro Wrestling Tees has the merch. As always, thank you for watching. Before we dive into the story of Torque and Abbott State Penitentiary and Carnate Island and this guy, let's dive into the origins of this game. Where did it come from? It may come as no shock to you that acting as publisher on this title was none other than our dearly departed Midway. Jeez, I miss Midway, man. On the development side of things would be Surreal Software, who you may know from the Drakon series, or maybe more likely, Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring from 2002. Our project lead and writer here was a man by the name of Richard Rouse III. If you played Sunset Overdrive or State of Decay, you know Richard's work, how you doing? Richard made his pitch for The Suffering with many inspirations in mind, though the three at the top of the list were Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, and Half-Life. Man, if you're looking to make your mark in the horror scene, those are three great examples to go by. He wanted to pull different aspects from each. From Devil May Cry would come the action-packed, pulse-pounding combat and gameplay. Resident Evil's Spencer Mansion and Raccoon Police Department were the types of stages he had in mind, with a deep and storied world much like that of Half-Life 2. Now look, I'm not trying to say that The Suffering is better than Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, or Half-Life. I'm not trying to say that this game does what those games do better than they do it, but what I am trying to say is that The Suffering is really cool. And if you play this game and you know where certain pieces of the puzzle have been lifted from, you can see it. You can see the influences shining through, and I think that makes it all the better. I'm a big BioShock fan. I love BioShock. Both the original and Infinite are in my top 5 of all time. The influence of BioShock's Sander Cohen can easily be seen in The Suffering's Dr. Killjoy, right? Wrong! Dr. Killjoy predates Sander Cohen by 3 years. How do you like that? Now, do we want to keep going on production, or should we switch over to some story and gameplay elements? I think we'll make the transition, and then we'll come back to more development details, because I got more to share with you. I advertise at the beginning of all of my videos these days that the uncensored versions are available exclusively on Patreon. And when it comes to something like Castlevania, there's nothing I really have to blur or cut out. With the suffering, though, yeah, this is probably going to be pretty heavily edited for content here on the YouTube version. Sorry, I don't make the rules. I find it very annoying, to be honest with you, but what can you do? So here we go. As previously stated, Torque, that's the only name we get for our main character. He's getting locked up. Word on the street is he killed his wife and 2 sons, but he's never admitted to doing this. Truth be told, he has no idea what happened that night. The entire situation seems to be missing from his memory. I don't know about you, but personally, I don't think that this looks or feels like a great place to be, and that's before the creatures from another place emerge from the prison's walls.
Whatever I've done, the Reverend says Jesus has forgiven me.
Will you shut the f*** up, you baby-sizing sack of sh**?
I was just asking the man a question, Goose. Whoa!
What the f*** is this? The earthquake! What the hell's going on?
The intern.
CO, you gotta let us out. We're still humans, man. The whole f***ing place is coming down!
Sweet Jesus, what the hell was that?
Slick, you okay, man?
Is the prison collapsing? Are we sinking into the ocean? CO! What the hell's going on?
From here, Torque has one main mission. Get the hell out of here. I mean, obviously, right? Roaming the innards of Abbott State Penitentiary gives us our first real look at what to expect from the suffering. This is gonna be f***ed up. And let's take a minute to go over the prison, as this place has deep lore of its own. Based largely on the real-world prison of Alcatraz, Abbott State is indeed located on an island. It's called Carnate Island, and the fact that this prison is on an island is not going to help Torque get out of here. Nor will the ever-present haunting of this ghoulish, ethereal asshole who loves to hear himself speak. Taunting Torque from beyond is one of this guy's favorite hobbies. Who is this guy? This is Hermes T. Haight, the longtime executioner here at Abbott State Penitentiary. From lethal injections to firing squads, hangings, over to the gas chamber, that was his favorite. Haight had seen it all, and he relished every second of it. Eventually, the enjoyment he garnered from extinguishing the lives of the inmates wasn't enough. Haight decided he needed more, so he locked himself in the gas chamber. Rather than suffocating to death like a normal person, Haight's soul, his essence, transformed. He became the gas he'd used to end the lives of hundreds. And this, as you might imagine, pleased him greatly.
Escaping isn't as simple as just getting outside. But I don't need to tell you that. You know there is no real escape.
I told you this game has deep lore. As a matter of fact, I don't think anything that we're going to touch on today is lacking an interesting backstory. Hermes T. Haight is only the beginning. Torque's contending with these ghastly creatures on top of hallucinations of his family, usually not in the most pleasant of situations. Now might be a good time to address the fact that the suffering allows for both third and first person gameplay throughout the entire experience. A simple press of the square button shifts your perspective instantly, which is pretty crazy. And Surreal Software made a point to brag about this. They said that it's up to the player to run through the story however they want, and that both viewpoints are fully viable at all times. Is that true? Yeah, it is. Unbelievably, both perspectives feel great. Even modern Bethesda games can't seem to pull this off yet. I don't care what anyone says, their games still don't feel right in third person. But the suffering does. We'll come across survivors in our travels who are also trying to get the hell out of this place. They require our assistance, but it's up to us whether or not we lend it. There's a dark voice inside of Torque demanding for this bystander to be killed, but the voice of Torque's wife pleads for us to assist them.
I heard the government's been conducting experiments on us inmates. Next phase of MK Ultra, if you can believe that shit. Now it's turned into the mother of all cluster f***s.
He needs your protection.
He's a parasite.
It looks like there's no way out in here. Come on, man. Follow me. We gotta try to get to the outside.
If you don't help him, he'll die.
Taking one of these guys out is permanent, and lending a hand may pay off later as the story unfolds, so choose wisely. There's a part where, and I definitely can't show this on YouTube, we open a door in the asylum to find a police officer whose arms and legs have been severed from his body. He writhes in pain, bleeding out onto the white padded floors. In this moment, I did what I thought was the humane thing to do. I blew his head off. I put him out of his misery. To my surprise, Torque's wife thanked me for doing the right thing. God damn, this game is dark. And your balance of morality can be checked at any time by taking a look at the photo you carry of your dearly departed wife and children. If you're a good man making just choices, the photograph will be in pristine condition, your family smiling. But if you're wronging innocent people, killing and torturing those who really have nothing to do with you, the photo will twist and contort, eventually displaying a horrified family soaked in blood. Brilliant, man. Just brilliant. How many games out there let you call upon the evil inside to transform yourself into a terrifying monster with a blade arm? Huh? Any takers for that question? This whole minigame of watching the insanity meter and making sure you don't remain a monster too long because it can actually kill you is another cool little wrinkle. Or, wait, this game is badass and freaky. It's not a wrinkle, it's a scar. It's a scar with coagulated blood drying on it from a different gaping wound. Yeah, that's better. And not that I have to draw attention to it. You've got eyes, you can see it, but yeah, we're blowing these monsters to pieces, and we are soaked in their blood from head to toe. And this is to YouTube. These are not human beings. These are weird, otherworldly creatures. For the love of God, leave me alone with the demonetization. Thank you. While we're on the topic of monsters, I think it would be pretty cool to zoom in on them a bit, to give them their time to shine. Because these are not your run-of-the-mill zombies or ghosts or witches or anything like that. Each one of these creatures has its own unique origin. Again, I told you this game is drowning in lore. The roster sheet of monsters can be found in the main menu. They're in a journal kept by one of the characters in the background of this game. These guys are the most common enemy of the bunch. They're called Slayers, and they're described as the manifestation of decapitation, possibly via guillotine. The marksmen, these big behemoths, have an entire firing squad attached to their back. Mainliners remove the syringes from their eye sockets and flesh to stab into you. If you're getting a lethal injection vibe from these guys, yeah. The nooseman with the rope around his neck, the burrower who was buried alive. Are you seeing it? These monsters in this prison are all representative of the different types of execution carried out on their grounds. That is awesome. As are the Festers. What's their story? Well, these are the bloated, rotting corpses of the men who captained slave ships that used to stop on Carnate Island. The rats who would feed on the flesh of the poor slaves trapped below deck now inhabit the stomachs of the captains. And of course their guts open up in a storm of rats upon their death. Can't say I have any sympathy for slave traders though, I don't. I learned in my research that these monsters were designed in part by Stan Winston Studios, which is super sick. That's a legendary stamp for anything.
I was involved with the Suffering Project primarily as the character designer. There was existing characters already, and how we were involved was a lot of the stuff came to us and we'd put a polish on top of the art that they had already designed. So I did a lot of color design, I did a lot of refining of existing characters, and there were some really cool characters, like for instance one guy was put to death in an electric chair. So we did a lot of referencing of electric chairs and prison uniforms.
The Inferno will allow us to leapfrog back into some story conversation. Who are the Inferna? Well, these three little girls are apparently the ghosts of children who accused innocent women of witchcraft back in the 1600s. Nearly a dozen people were killed over their bogus claims, and the souls of these girls are now cursed as punishment. And now that's our problem, so thanks a lot. We can leapfrog back into the story here, because at this juncture you might be wondering, what do these little girls have to do with Torque? The 1600s? Slave traders and slave ships? What does this have to do with Torque and his family? Here's the thing. Torque is the guy we play as. He's the guy we're following. But the main character of this game is Carnate Island and Abbott State Penitentiary. There's no doubt about it. The Inferna have nothing to do with Torque in any way whatsoever. Their souls are simply tied to this island. The Festers and slave ships, no relation to Torque. Again, it's the island. Carnate Island. Abbott State Penitentiary is a poisonous, toxic place. Its very presence rotten to the core, and it's built on a venomous, cancer-ridden island. Torque is just here. Is his situation with his family tragic? Yeah, absolutely it is. But what's going on here has nothing to do with his background. This place is just hell on earth. Hermes T. Haight, the executioner we spoke of earlier, he's tied to this place, not Torque. Dr. Killjoy isn't tied to Torque either. He's existed here for quite some time. And I have to say, toward the end of the game, I found myself wondering what exactly was happening with all of these individual moving parts. The never-ending action and monsters, monsters, monsters. I definitely found it a bit difficult to stay in tune with the story beats, and I could not possibly have explained much of this in detail to you were it not for the journal entries contained within that submenu. But all that aside, what do we learn about Torque and how does his story end? Our interactions with Torque's wife and children aren't really explained in any sort of depth, they're just visions. Things are certainly hinted at, but the did he do it or not isn't explained until the very end. And even then, the answer to the question is dependent on you. It's dependent on how you played the game. I played as a good guy, so my ending came with the revelation that Torque did not kill his family. He was framed by the Colonel, who sent home invaders to murder the wife and children to get Torque sent to Abbott State on Carnate Island. Why did he do that? We don't know. Who is the Colonel? Don't have a clue. This is a brand new character revealed in the final seconds of the game, acting as a cliffhanger for the sequel. And yes, there was a sequel. Maybe we'll talk about that another time. That good ending sees Torque board the Coast Guard ship to safety. We learn that Torque's case has been reopened and he will likely be cleared of all charges. Well, the charges in regards to his family's murder. Torque reportedly, and I quote, shivved half of the Aryan Union when he arrived at Abbott State. And, you know, that might be a whole other can of worms, but who's gonna get mad about stabbing some Nazis, right? The middle of the road ending reveals that Torque did kill his wife in an argument, and then his older son, the younger brother, before jumping out the window. That's a little crazy, but the bad ending, yeah, Torque just happens to remember, oh yeah, I did brutally them, didn't I? And then he actually decides to stay on Carnate Island, which is good, you know, because with this ending, I think this guy probably belongs here. If you find this story's focus on the setting rather than the character to be disappointing, hey, that's up to you. That's how you take in stories. One could argue that BioShock, and again, I know, I'm on BioShock again, BioShock kind of did the exact same thing. Do you remember Jack from BioShock? No? Jack is the guy that we played as. Jack was us in BioShock. You probably don't remember him because the focus of that game wasn't Jack. The focus of that game was Rapture, the underwater utopia. Well, it was a utopia at one point. But that's another thing entirely. We'll talk about BioShock another day. Believe it or not, there's still meat on this suffering bone. And it might be rotten meat, the bone might be jagged and sharp and dangerous, but it's still there, nonetheless. And I think we should continue to pick at it. I haven't touched on Horace Gage yet. Who was Horace Gage? He was an inmate at Abbott State. He did some terrible things, as you do, to get locked up in a place like this, and he was worried that his wife would be in danger without him on the outside to protect her. So, one day during a conjugal visit, Horace cut his wife into pieces. This way, nobody out there in the world would be able to hurt her. Did I mention that this guy was troubled? Horace was sentenced to death and was executed in the electric chair. At one point early on in the game, we can actually hallucinate him sitting in the chair. And if you check the security camera feeds, you will actually see his ghost approaching you from behind. In a panic, you're going to shut that monitor off and turn around, but nobody's there. Moments like this are where the suffering truly shines. Horace helps us in several key spots throughout the story as long as we free his spirit from eternal damnation in the chair, in what might be his attempt at redeeming his soul. I don't know. I don't forgive him. I loved finding the prison cemetery out back. This is where the bodies of inmates and employees that weren't claimed by their families would be buried. Horace and Hermie's burial plots are disturbed, to say the least. I appreciated the mixing in of the occasional obstacle in my way, and, I don't even want to call them puzzles, because this is like the bare minimum of problem solving. But I enjoyed these sorts of situations. There was a moment where I was completely lost in being the monster. I had to wipe out this seemingly endless horde of enemies, and I did, but I lost focus. The innocent man I was clearing the path for came up from behind me, and I cut him in half before I realized who he was. That popped me, man. I felt bad about it. They got me. I was intoxicated with the power of being this raging brute. That's good shit. And the final boss, look at this thing. This is the manifestation of Torque's inner guilt and rage and everything negative that ever happened to him. This is what this guy is carrying around on a daily basis. Crazy. I come to you now to ask one question. Why doesn't anybody talk about this game? I get recommended retrospectives by other creators all the time because this is what I do, so YouTube thinks it's what I want to see. Never once has a retrospective on the suffering been pitched my way. Nobody talks about this game. This Surreal Software developed, Midway published horror action shooter did not lose its ass financially or critically. As a matter of fact, The Suffering sold over 1.5 million copies across the PlayStation 2 and Xbox upon its March 2004 release. For those keeping up with this season of Scream Sequence, yeah, that's more than double the copies that Super Castlevania 4 sold. And we all know how famous that game is. Critically, take a look. Does this look like a poor reception to you? The Suffering 2, or The Suffering Ties That Bind, dropped 1 year later, meaning that this isn't even a one-and-done series. A goddamn live-action movie was announced shortly thereafter on September 8th, 2005. This movie was never made, but you're getting a taste of what people thought of this IP when it was new and hot. So what the hell happened? Honestly, I don't know. The Suffering Ties That Bind is also pretty damn good. I still have my original save file from this one. How you don't? Let me know if you want me to cover this down the line. But yeah, it's not like a sequel came out and it sucked and then everybody went, oh yeah, never mind. I don't know. I don't know what happened here. I do know that Midway purchased Surreal Software in 2004, and then Midway went out of business in 2009. That didn't help anything. But think about those numbers. The sequel dropped in 2005. There was a 4-year window there for a Suffering 3 to be made, and it never was. It never even went into development. Surreal Software actually never released another game. They were working on one called This Is Vegas, and that didn't come out either. Surreal were purchased by Warner Brothers during the whole Midway IP auction and were basically smashed into Monolith, with several key developers from The Suffering working on Monolith's Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games. Some carried over into the Wonder Woman game, which was announced in 2021 and then canceled in 2025. And then Monolith itself was shut down in 2025. Man, The Suffering came and went. Despite its blood-soaked action and deeply thoughtful lore, this series seems to be one of those forgotten stories. I'm not gonna call it a classic, though it may qualify as a hidden gem now, 20 years post-launch and largely left in the past, but yeah, today on Scream Sequence, we raised a glass to Torque, to Abbott State Penitentiary, to Carnate Island. The Suffering was awesome, and I wanted to give it its time under the sun, or under the full moon, or whatever else is spooky and scary. I don't know, you tell me.
Not like you. You understand how it feels. They needed someone professional to pull the switch. A lot of eager sadists applied, but I was the only one who took the work seriously. So seriously, I wanted to taste the gas myself. That's what Carnate does. It brings out the killer inside. It's the perfect place for you and me.
Oh, there it is, Dan Dans. A little retrospective action on 2004's The Suffering. Patreon.com/616entertainment is where you can go to support me, support the channel, get the uncensored versions of all the videos. Definitely including this one, because there's no doubt in my mind I had to chop this one the fuck up. GM Showdown Season 3 is in production now. That's going to be a Patreon and YouTube channel memberships exclusive. I do Q&A podcasts over there, blah, blah, blah. That's where you get them. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I will see you soon.